thankfully just reminded me that I should be recording all of this. What a great intro that was, and I'm not going to go over it all over again. So, as I said, my name is Justin Phillips, and welcome to this exciting call with Jost Sauer, aka the Lifestyle Medicine Man. Jost was born in 1958 in Germany. He has a Bachelor of Health Science and Acupuncture and diplomas and so forth. He began working as a therapist in 1991, qualified as a doctor in Chinese medicine, and lectured in traditional Chinese medicine for 10 years. That's where I met Jost when he was a supervisor of the acupuncture clinic at the Australian College of Natural Medicine, where I was studying. Jost has founded and operated health centers and worked internationally with celebrity clients in the US. He is a bit of a rock star in the world of traditional Chinese medicine, and health and fitness has always been his passion. His background includes competitive skiing at a national level, that's snow skiing, bodybuilding, triathlon, Ironman training. And when he discovered Kung Fu and Tai Chi, he realized that fitness is only a part of the equation and vitality is the other. And this led to decades more research into how to live with nutritional supplements, an optimal diet, and therapeutic exercise, weightlifting, martial arts, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, to make you feel good. That's what it's all about, right, Jost? And then he added the 24-hour movement of Qi, the Chinese medicine body clock, and that connects day-to-day activities to our natural Qi cycles, and developed his Qi cycle lifestyle. And this is the ultimate in lifestyle medicine. He founded, which is founded on thousands of years of traditional Chinese medicine experience and over 30 years of Jost's academic research and practical observations from living it. Jost is a dynamic and inspiring speaker, renowned for delivering inventive and entertaining presentations on lifestyle medicine. I love Jost. He always cracks me up, and I always learn something new. And Jost has a great media profile, regular contributor to health and lifestyle magazines, and he is the author of many groundbreaking books, which we'll probably mention throughout this interview, and we'll put the links in both the Zoom and the Facebook, so you can get in touch with him and get some of his great resources on his website. Good morning, Jost. How are you today?
Yes, good morning. Very good. Thank you.
Hey, so today's exciting topic. Are you yin or yang? I know which one I'm feeling today.
Oh, yeah. It's the idea. You see, in Chinese medicine, everything's regulated by yin and yang. And so is our personality trait. So we got no control over how yin and yang impacts on us. Yin and yang is the drive. It drives us. For example, we can't say, tomorrow I won't get thirsty. We can say, tomorrow I will not drink. I can't say, tomorrow I will not get hungry. I can say, tomorrow I will not eat. Neither can I say, tomorrow I won't get horny. I can say,
Tomorrow, I don't believe you.
Tomorrow I won't have sex. So there's within us is a drive, and the mind is independent of that drive. So we can have all kinds of ideas about how we're supposed to behave, but then there's the drive. We got no control over. For example, as a male, when they turn 15, 14, 13, they got no control about testosterone development and sperm development in the testicles. They can't say, I don't want that. It's not possible. There's a drive. But the same applies to women. There's the drive. With the blood production that takes place and then the bleeding phase, we can't with our mind engage with this. So this is all part of yin and yang. And yang is expansion and yin is contraction. So in yin we get within, and in yang we go on without. So yang is heat and hot. Yin is cold. Yang is in the day. Yin is in the shadow. So the original yin and yang symbol, the white was the sun shining onto the hill, and the black was the shadow of the hill. So the white resembled the yang, and the black resembled the yin, the shadow. So that means we are subject to forces that wants us to be in a certain way, because whatever created life, Tao in Chinese medicine we call it, T-A-O, which is the supreme intelligence that regulates everything, and Tao, or Tao, what some people pronounce it, wants only the best of creation. So in order to keep harmony between all that is created, Yin and Yang was put into place. And Yin and Yang then is responsible for, so when something goes up, Yang, the Yin will make sure it keeps down again. So it's otherwise it will blow up. Creation would blow up. Creation could not exist without Yin and Yang. So if everyone would be Yang, it would be blown up by now, a long time ago. Yes. If everyone would be Yin, we wouldn't have done anything. It would be still like pre-Big Bang time, just sitting there waiting for something to happen. So the Big Bang was the Yang going outside. Then at the same time, the Yin came in. So each human being is now regulated by this force. And everyone is born under an astrological sign, but also what drive they are having. Is the drive more on the Yang side? Is the drive more on the Yin side? If you know what your drive is, it makes life much easier, because then you understand, you're at peace. You can't, because as I said before, you can't say, tomorrow I won't get thirsty. Tomorrow I won't get hungry. So if you know your drives, you know exactly there's nothing you can do about other than trying to find the management of it. And Chinese medicine is well equipped to provide management for Yin and Yang types. So if you are a Yin type, there's a certain way of living. If you are a Yang type, there's another way of living. So we need, first of all, understand that if we understand our drive, then we won't bash ourselves up all the time.
Yeah.
It puts us at peace.
Are those drives, the Yin and Yang drives, are they at all related to the traditional Chinese astrological signs? Like I'm a fire dragon, so I'm just wondering how that relates. Or is that quite different?
No, that's a different, totally different. It's independent. So independent of you're a dog, or if you're a rat, or if you're a dragon, or whatever that is, or rooster, you still got Yin and Yang. But then you got elements also in there. So the astrology is enormously complex. The astrology obviously looks at all the forces that keeps everything in its place. And we spoke about before, the gravity that holds everything in its space it's in fact a mystery. And because everything's supposed to be moving around all the time.
The immovable forces of the universe, as we've spoken about.
Yeah. If you put a glass of water on your table, next day it's still exactly in the same position. And that's in fact a mystery, because it's supposed to be moving around all the time. Because this planet travels at 75,000 kilometers per hour and spins vertically 45,000 kilometers per hour. So there's an enormous force creation. It just generates forces that far beyond our comprehension. And in order to hold this all together, there's an enormous intelligence. And we have been put into this place in order to navigate these forces. And the Chinese has given us guidelines how to navigate. And first of all, those guidelines are about who are you? If you know who you are, you don't bash yourself over when you do things that other people think you shouldn't have done. Yes? So, for example,
right.
A Yang type is always immediately engages with things. Yang means drive, Yin means contraction. So a Yang type always says, shit, I shouldn't have done that. A Yin type always says, I should have done this.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting. Yeah, I've been the shouldn't have for a long time, even though I know that's not a healthy empowerment statement. Really working on that at the moment with different changing micro habits and looking at my internal language. That's interesting.
Yeah, because if you are Yang type, you are instantly engaging. You've got the drive. You expand. You go out there. That means you are impulsive.
Me?
No, not you, Justin. Neither me. Everyone else is impulsive.
Awesome. Yeah, that's an incredible observation, actually. A really interesting way, the way Yang people think and the way Yin people think. That's amazing.
Yeah, people tend to be impulsive. Yin types are they're considerate, everything. Before they spend money, they're considerate. Yang type, let's do it.
Mm. Would you say that there's a bit of a prevalence of Yang types in the Western world at the moment?
Yeah, if Yang gets out of control, it needs to go into Yin. And I talked about in my personal podcast, the Lifestyle Medicine Man podcast, last year. I actually said, we are heading in a massive Yang phase, and next year, which indicated 2020, I said in there, it's going to go into massive Yin phase.
You're right. We all got locked up.
That is Yin. Yes, that's about as Yin as you can go. Just sit all day, sit there. Yin types, okay. Yang types go nuts.
Yeah, I actually loved it though. I just felt it was such a nice rebalance. Yeah, I reconnected with the balance of Yin. Like I have loved the environment, and I'm very blessed. My business hasn't been affected. No one that I know is being sick, so I'm very lucky like that. And I certainly feel for all the people that have been affected either in health or financially. And I know a lot of people really, really hurt by that. Talking to a beauty therapist this morning about that, and poor thing. But for me, the experience of COVID, because I've switched off from the media and just like got into the cave at home, I loved it. It was such a wonderful time. It was such a good family time.
Yes, because it brings Yin qualities in that we really were lacking. You see, like in Chinese medicine, we always talk about the good old days, and the Yellow Emperor is the medical book that Chinese medicine is based on. It was written 3,000 years ago, and in there they referred to the good old days.
I thought it was only old people that did that.
3,000 years ago, they referred to the good old days. And I talked about the good old days when people understood how to follow the path of Yin and Yang. And they knew if you invest Yang energy throughout the day, say you're putting 8 hours of Yang energy into it, you now need to compensate for 8 hours Yin energy. So which then requires, that then leads to 8 hours sleep, which is Yin and Yang combined. So that's separated from Yin and Yang. But the activity during the day shouldn't be longer than about 7-8 hours of Yang, and then it goes into Yin. But in these days, this is like till last year, before COVID, it was like unheard of. Yeah. So it was like 16 hours Yang and maybe 1 hour Yin, and then trying to sleep. And then come on, rush, quick! I need to speed up sleeping here.
Yes. Yeah, I need to speed up sleeping. I know exactly what you mean, even though I know it's not healthy. It's that, and that feeling of overwhelmed, like people feel overwhelmed, not enough time. I was literally gardening the other day, and it's dark, and I've got the headlamp on, and my wife's like turned all the outside lights on, and I'm like, I wish there was more daylight.
In the beginning, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the most classic example of a Yang type, he just made a famous speech about it. He said, "We don't need much sleep. Sleep faster." That's Yang type. Or Yang types flush the toilet before they finish.
Yeah.
All these little micro behaviors of Yang types.
Yeah, right. I get it. Yeah, that's funny.
You're a Yang type, you're always like 3 steps ahead. That means when you sit at home, you want to go to pay the rent. Okay, that's a good idea. But you want to go into the shop and then meet some client for a meeting. Before you go to the shop, before you go into the car, you're already at the meeting.
Yeah.
Your mind is already at the meeting.
Yeah.
So the Yang types always move ahead.
Yeah. And of course, there's some great strengths and weaknesses to all of it, right? Like that can be great for planning, but it really is a challenge for being in the moment too.
Yeah, of course. But the thing is, obviously, as a Yang type, you need a different way of lifestyle as a Yin type. So first of all, we need to understand that a Yang type has got this endless drive. Obviously, okay, before I get into it, keep this microphone is the midline. That's the perfect balance of Yin and Yang. So Yang is on here, Yin is on that side. So in extreme situation, you have the Yang types who are here. In the extreme situation, the Yin types are here. Most people are around here. Yeah, no one is right in the middle. More it's like here. Sometimes you fluctuate a little bit depending on how you work with your body. If you deplete your body, you will fluctuate towards Yin. If you if you've done too much relaxation, you may go into the yang for a while, but your nature is always determined by your fundamental drive. And that is, most people are either on the yin side or on the yang side. But then there's classic people, typical people, who are right at the extreme. For example, when you look at the classic yang type, is like a successful entrepreneur who just doesn't stop. Like Donald Trump, these people never stop. And like he wrote heaps of books about it in the past, like go, 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 yang, 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 kick ass. And you just don't, Arnold Schwarzenegger, then Rambo, Sylvester Stallone, and these are the really fun yang dudes. But then you got the real extreme yin types. And a classic example of a yin type is Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle, who was able to sit on a park bench for 3 years. Yeah, of course, that is only possible because of that drive towards the yin. And when you watch Eckhart Tolle speaking, when he formulates the questions or the sentence, it's like one word at a time. One word, 1 minute rest, another word, another minute rest, another word. Only extreme yin types can talk like that. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're a yang type listening to Eckhart Tolle, you go crazy. Yeah. You go, ah. Yeah. So obviously from this enormous yin perspective, you can write a book called The Power of Now, because yin allows you to go into the now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So if a yang type reads The Power of Now, it sounds appealable to them, but they can't quite relate to it. Mm-hmm. Because yang types speak very fast. They're put into 1 minute as many words as possible. The yin type only has like selected words in 1 minute. Mm. And so the yang type is just driven by the drive to do. And the yin type is driven by the need to establish space. Yin types establish space. So yin types are great people who can go fishing all day. Yeah. Yang types go to the beach and set up a business to employ people to teach them how to fish. Yeah. So yang types set up a business, yin types respect space. Yes. So yin types can stand in queues and are quite happy. Yang types push forward and go right to the front.
They want the VIP line, fast pass.
Yeah, but straight to the front. Yeah. Yang types can't wait in queues. Yin types can. Yeah. Yeah. So yang types always on the go. They always want to make a new business. They're always something to do. Yeah. Yin types are quite happy with things the way they are. Yes. Yeah. So obviously both are needed. Yes. Because for each of these sides, there is a profession that will come with it. For example, the entrepreneur is the yang type. They need to produce lots of work and jobs that create jobs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yin types are more considering in space. They would be like the calming therapist. They would be the person who has time for people. Let's come, how are you going? Let's settle. They do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. So both of them obviously work in harmony. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the yang type creates and makes something available. The yin type makes sure that no one loses the plot. Mm-hmm. Yes. So they obviously need each other. The problem begins when the yin type decides to become an entrepreneur and sells real estate. Or if the yang type decides to become a caring therapist. So imagine Eckhart Tolle going into real estate and writing a book, The Power of Money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No one would, what the point is, no one would even look at that book.
Yeah, yes? It doesn't really compare to Tony Robbins talking about money. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Like if Tony Robbins, how to get rich quick, or how to get rich, or like Robert Kiyosaki, how to get rich. Of course, that makes sense. Robert Kiyosaki is yang type. Yeah. You know that he comes from a point of drive. But if you would put Eckhart Tolle's photo on a business success book, it wouldn't work. Mm. Nor would work Robert Kiyosaki's or Donald Trump's face on a therapist book about compassion and forgiveness.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I
so the yang type, the yang type is the warrior, is the creator, is the destroyer. The yin type is builds the space and makes sure that no one loses the plot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you only have yang types running the country, then everyone is destined to lose the plot.
Yep, too busy.
Yeah. So that's why we're getting now this enormous shift in politics, where we suddenly get yin politicians, like New Zealand women and things like that. Suddenly we get a lot of yin personalities entering politics.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before that, it was gung-ho yang. Let's do this, go for this, get more, do this. Let's get another reform through. And obviously it was now the yin aspect is going in. So in an ideal situation, according to the Yellow Emperor, back in the good old days, way before 4,000 years ago,
yeah,
the people were ruling themselves by understanding that in a community, you put the yang people in the right position and the yin people in the right position. Yes, so the yin is looking after the peace, the yang is looking after the creation, the destruction, because in order to create, you need to destroy. Yeah. Yep. So they're obviously all the time out there. And if they wouldn't have the balance between the two, that's obviously the issue. And due to this massive lockdown, we've got now this perfect opportunity to look into who are we. Mm. Yeah, this is like a really, really, really good looking. Okay, so the next thing is obviously, this is all based on Chinese medicine. And Chinese medicine obviously looks at pathology. So if you are yang type, or if you're yin type, you are prone to pathologies. That's classic for your energetics. Mm-hmm. A yang type has what we call a liver yang axis. There's so much drive. It's this endless drive. Yang types are never really happy, but they're neither depressed either. They're never depressed either. Yang types are not happy, neither happy nor depressed. They're just constantly always on the go, more. They all the time find something new to keep going. That drive keeps them, generates always to go for the next frontier, always create the new. Yeah.
New ideas, new ambitions, new dreams.
Yes. So the yang type has got what we call a kidney yang axis. So the drive comes from the kidney. So therefore, the kidneys have got massive yang. And that translates as enormous high sex drive. So that's like, that means the drive in them is also to produce a lot of offsprings, heaps of children. That's how nature wants to do this. The yang goes into the kidney, the drive. This is the ideal leader. Let's get heaps of children. Yeah. So that's according to the evolutional perspective, why the yang type has got that enormous high sex drive. Mm-hmm. From a pathological perspective, the yang person is subject to sexual frustration. So they're the ones who are all the time in sexual frustration. So that's obviously what it means is they are constantly somehow somewhat regulating their sex drive. That means these people usually have like affairs, these people have things on the side. And the worst thing can happen if a yang type marries a yin type.
Uh-huh. Different.
So as yin and yang need to work together in life, but not in a relationship. Okay, this is where Chinese medicine is very, very, very strong. Yeah. Okay, so we need the yang types and the yin types to balance each other, but in a relationship, in a marriage, you don't want yin and yang types together because there are two different drives. Okay. So, for example, in Chinese medicine, it's stated very openly that if the sex drive is equal, you have a harmonious relationship. Mm-hmm. If the sex drive is uneven, you have constant conflict because you can't do anything about your drive. Yeah. You didn't get that drive on choice. When you were born, you didn't go to God and say, please give me a sex drive. Mm. Yeah. It's something you have no control over. Yeah. So the mind can regulate it to a certain degree, but the drive will constantly come up. Yeah. So now you can cause a lot of problems in relationships if a yang type marries a yin type. Because the yang type wants to have sex once a day or maybe twice a day. The yin type once a month. So there's a difference between 1 to 64. So you can talk all day long. The drive will somehow cause havoc.
Yeah.
It
that
will cause havoc.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, it will cause havoc. Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Muslim worked out with that. The yang type, 10 women, everything's fine. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
We got no control over it. This is blunt speaking, but we need to look at nature is blunt. It's straightforward. There's no analysis, no thinking. It's pure drive.
Yeah.
If you go to a tiger and go, boo, the tiger is going to attack you because the tiger got the drive. It's a yang drive. If you go to a horse and go, boo, the horse runs away because it's got the drive to escape. They don't reflect, they don't think. So in nature, everything is blunt. It's straight to the point, yes?
Yeah.
So therefore, like in Chinese medicine, that's why the highest form is know thyself. Know who you are. If you know who you are, that means you look out accordingly. Yes. So yang types moving into pathology, realizing, oh, I'm going really crazy. I need some balance. If they now put peace by trying to get a yin partner into their life, it may work good for about 1 or 2 or make 3 years. Then the problems start. Yeah. So this is obviously where relationship counseling in Chinese medicine looks at the different drives. Yes. And then you can create the harmony. Yeah? The next thing is yang drives. Yang people tend to be blunt. They always go direct to the point. Yang type on the phone, straight to the point. Yin type on the phone, how are you? What have you been up to? What are you doing today? You're going there. What are you doing with this? What do you think about this? What do you think of that? Yang type don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yin types, when you call a yin type wants to establish space first. Let's meet on space. Yang type wants to get the data across. Yeah. So this is obviously where the two situations are. Like when you're yang type, you tend to be blunt.
Yeah.
So you can't go and look at your psychological mistake and there's something wrong with me. So you can do, what it means is obviously you need to do a martial art training, you need to do Tai Chi training. Yang types need Tai Chi training because that means they are so aware of their yang, they know they bring the yin in through a practice. So in case they call up a yin type and the yin type wants to establish space first, the yang type can call on the practice and allow the yin type to establish space, that they won't get into stress, nervous breakdown. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to meet quite a few of those yang types through my clients in the past. And I met Robert Kiyosaki once back in 1998 when he was in Brisbane at the convention center. So the guy has no time to talk to you.
Yep.
He says, when he meets you, he's already 5 steps ahead of you about analyzing in which way I am of any use to him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Yang type. So not about establishing space. Yes. Yep. When you meet like really great master who has got a yin energy, when you meet them, the first thing what they do is they acknowledge your space. They want to know who you are. They're not interested in what you want to do. They want to know who you are. Yes. So yeah. So we need to understand that the yin and the yang type has got a different behavior pattern. Yeah. The yin type, who is more on the an establishing space, if they aren't aware of that, what happens is they will always be left behind. They always will be left behind. That means if they meet something, the opportunity goes away from them because they contemplate. They just establish space first, they think. Yes. So obviously what the yin type needs, it needs some training in order to get more impulsive.
Yep. Fire it up, get moving.
You get impulsive. Yeah. Do some behavior pattern to get impulsive. The yang type has to become reflective. Yes, the yin type impulsive, yang type reflective. Yeah.
I kind of understand how a yang type can do work to get a bit more yin. I think I've worked on that. But what about a yin type to get more yang? How do they do that?
Yeah, okay. So this is obviously where Chinese medicine is coming into, and I want to talk a bit later once I finish with those pathologies first.
Okay.
Because there's another very important factor of the yang type, which is an issue, and that's the yang type is physically unable to listen. So
sorry, I was trying to get to the point.
So if you have a meeting with the yang type and you're trying to come across a point, they most likely don't listen to what you say.
Mm-hmm.
They're ready to the next step. So obviously in business, that's very common. You've got 10 people in a business meeting, they're all yang types. No one listens to them, to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're physically incapable to listen by nature. If the drive is on yang to act, there's no space established. There's no yin cultivation in order to acknowledge the voice. So the yang type obviously needs to really do hard training, cultivating yin. So when they go to meeting, okay, I go deliberately in yin now, not impulsive in the yang, so I've got the ability to listen. Mm. That's why we've got such a problem in politics, because too many of the politicians are yang types. They don't listen to each other. They don't have the physical capability to listen.
Yep.
Unless you cultivate 2 hours a day, you will be impulsive as a yang type. Yes?
Yep.
Unless the yin type, same situation. If you know how to cultivate, obviously, then you will make, then we'll call them and create the balance. So this is where the yang type is always the type that is dependent on marijuana very quickly. They're the ones who can develop a marijuana addiction. Yin types can't. So marijuana is a yin drug. A yang type, it balances them when they smoke a bit of pot. If a yin type smokes pot, they get paranoid. They immediately, everyone is looking at me, everyone's staring at me. Because the yin type now goes very yin. Yeah. So that's pretty much like, and the next thing is that the yang type has got such a drive, they aren't aware about when the body depletes itself of resources. And that's one of the biggest problems with the yang type.
Burnout.
Yeah, the yang type is completely, it's got so much drive. They wake up, they do stuff. Comes lunchtime, they keep doing. Afternoon, keep doing. So you're in a state of keep doing. Because the body, by nature, constantly releases more drive. So you're not sensitive to energy crashes. You're not sensitive to when you need to eat. Yeah. So this is the big problem that we're facing with yang types, that I don't need breakfast. I don't need lunch. Yes, because obviously the drive doesn't make them stop. The drive doesn't give them a hunger feel. The drive, the yang, doesn't make them feel, gee, I get seedy. A yang drive always got the energy. Yes. This is, for example, why we had that massive problem with what's this big famous that yang type, what's his name? The success guy. Not Robert Kiyosaki.
Anthony Robbins. Anthony Robbins, yeah.
Anthony Robbins. Like Anthony Robbins is a classic yang type.
Yeah.
Yang type, yeah, it's about as yang as you can go.
Yeah.
For example, you can see in the face who's a yang type because they got the cheekbones up and they've got the energy towards the chin down like this. So when Anthony Robbins got it really well before, everything's moving up. It goes like this. Yin types are like that. Yeah, yang types like that.
Oh, yeah.
And Anthony Robbins, like 20 years ago, was constantly writing books about don't eat during the day, just have fruit till lunchtime. And don't eat anything because it slows you down. It caused a lot of problems because half of the people who wanted to get improvement were yin types.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the yin types obviously are very sensitive to energy crashes. And the body by nature is designed have 3 meals throughout the day. The best distribution of yin and yang is 3 meals a day: the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner. And then you got the 12 hours not eating. So you got the 12-hour window of eating. That means it provides the energy. So a yang type, and this is the people I see in clinic on a regular basis, the yang types crash eventually, big time. They crash. Like they go into this lockdown COVID syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then because they crashed, then everyone thinks, my God, what happened here? Yeah. What happened here? And no one could understand because these people got full of beans and suddenly they were crashing. So yang types don't have the development of a pathology as such because the drive keeps them going. But when they crash, boom, it's big crash. It's like the whole thing, the system. So this is where, when you know you're a yang type, you need to be aware that you need 3 meals a day.
Yep. And stop. Wait. It's not just you need to eat, but the big thing you taught me is how you eat.
Yes.
That has so changed my life.
Yeah. The yang type can easily go all day without food. Just because they don't sense the need for energy doesn't mean they don't need the energy. Yeah. So this is where the problem comes in with as a writer. If you are yang type and write about success and diet, you're providing biographical advice. It suits your nature. It suits the yang type nature. Yeah. So if a yang type talks about diet, of course, it's going to be intermittent fasting right up to 4 p.m. Nothing to eat. Yeah. And then maybe just a couple hours of eating and then go back into doing things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of sex in between. Yeah.
Go.
And build business, you know?
Yeah. Classic.
So, of course, they will talk about the ideal diet according to their nature would be exactly on that level. Just don't eat during the day. Yeah. Of course, eventually, all those yang guys will give those diet advice, and they'll say they're in their 40s. By the time they're 55, they will have a massive crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see quite a few of those success gurus right now who are just turned 40 or mid-30s, who prescribe these enormous, crazy diets of only eating 6 hours in the day. And I look at them, and all I can see is a really full-on yang type. Yeah. So obviously, these yang types at 35 years of age providing this advice, it works for them at that moment because the kidneys and the liver, it's where all the yang is. Yeah. And then boom, then sooner or later they're going to deplete the whole body, which will take eventually. And this is the people I see. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is plant-based. Yeah.
So yang types are unaware of early pathological developments. They don't sense early pathological developments. So yang types in a younger age can really work hard, can party all night, can smoke pot all day, and keep going. Yeah. So they appear to be like the ultimate lifestyle, but they're not aware about the pathological developments because yin types are the exact opposites. They're like the neurotics. Because the yin type is so driven to establish space, that means they sense themselves every moment.
Yeah, very self-aware.
Yeah, if they've got the slightest symptom come up, oh, that's going to be a heart attack. Another symptom come, oh, that's going to be diabetes. Oh, that's going to be like this. So the yin type, obviously, every little symptom immediately becomes big because they're so aware of it. Mm-hmm. Because yin types are fully present in the space, in the moment. Mm. So they can sense everything that's coming up. Yeah? And so that means they're prone to overriding the situation, and then they've got the danger of creating the pathology. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So whereas the yang types don't sense it, the yin types sense small development, they small the little, they sense the symptom development, but they consider the symptom development as a major step. As I talk about in my book, Clock On Over and Clock On to Health, I always talk about the symptom progression. By the time it becomes a major pathology, it's a symptom development. It starts as something and then it just gets somewhere. So it starts as headache, it starts as a bit of a bloating, or it starts as a migraine, or it starts as an itching in the skin, and then it goes further and further and further, and eventually it becomes like diabetes, or it becomes a cardiovascular disease, or it becomes a blood pressure problem. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the yin type is fully aware of that progression, but because the yin type acknowledges the space, the mind can immediately go to the end result of that progression.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The yang type doesn't sense the progression. They keep going, keep going, keep going. And then by the time it becomes one of the major pathologies like cardiovascular disease, blood pressure, boom, they've suddenly got blood pressure problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then everyone says, how did that happen? It has been in the development all along.
Yeah, that was so healthy. They had so much energy. Bang, hit by a Mack truck.
Bang, suddenly. Yeah?
Yeah.
This is why in Chinese medicine, we always focus on prevention. So everyone should go to an acupuncturist every week to put the pulse on, get a tongue diagnostic. The acupuncture will tell you exactly where your yin is, where your yang is. They will tell you what level you are in the progression of symptoms. Mm. Yeah? As I talk about in Clock On, over and over, you want to be at the beginning stage of the progression, not at the end. Mm. If you are at the beginning of a progression, you are able to correct your symptom every moment along the way.
Mm. That's sustainable lifestyle.
That requires obviously establishing yin and yang. And that's why the morning practice is so important. Yeah. Because the morning goes you very, very into the yin. Yeah. Yeah. So now I want to talk about the yin types, yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yin types are the exact opposite, and they obviously got their own pathologies. Yeah. But the yin type is always the introverted type. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they are within rather than outside. So this is very important. Yin types appear to be considerate. They appear to be sensitive. Mm-hmm. But they are too shy to be inconsiderate. Where the yang type immediately expresses, the yin type considers. And therefore, a lot of people say, oh, he's so nice, she or he is so sensitive, so considerate. It's because they're too shy to act. Mm-hmm. Yes? It's, yep. So, yeah. So you got to, so the yin type comes across as the considerate person, the yang type comes across as the inconsiderate person. It's because of the drive. Yeah. The yin type is too shy to consider it. You know, they won't attack.
They have trouble with self-expression and like saying what they mean.
Yeah, yeah. Yin types don't really say what they think.
Yeah, or can be more prone to that. I'm not saying that all yin types are a problem.
Yin type extreme, yeah. Yeah. So the yin type extreme, if it's a pathology, yin types don't say what they really think. Mm-hmm. Because the yang type wants to confront. The yang type goes for the confrontation. The yin type doesn't want to confront. Yeah. Yeah. So therefore, the yin type doesn't say what they really think, that means it leads to suppression of the energies. It suppresses it. Yeah. Yang type expresses immediately. Yep. If you say something offensive to a yang type, it's dealt with in that moment. Yeah. Yes? Yeah. Like someone has a black eye, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Quick explosion and then over it, right? Move on.
Move on. That's it. Deal. Back to business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yin type will not, if you say something offensive to a yin type, they will brood over it. It will be suppressed. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes a passive aggressive action later. Mm-hmm. They put some dynamite in your letterbox or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're then the yin types do the contemplated action. For example, these acupuncturists were looking at that case study 30 years ago about this lovely, considerate, such a sensitive yin, lovely young boy from a neighborhood in America who went to McDonald's and killed 45 people with a gun.
Yeah, yeah, exploded.
Yeah.
Because
So
it imploded.
that was a classic example of yin pathology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he imploded for most of his life and then just like lashed out.
Yeah. Just everyone, when the neighbors were interviewed, everyone said over and over, he was such a considerate person. He was so polite and so friendly. He couldn't act. He could not act. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a problem, isn't it? It needs to be a free flowing of expression. Too much expression can be overbearing, and too little expression can be too resentful and then rage.
Yeah. Pathological yin types are more dangerous than pathological yang types.
There you go. And people, I think, imagine the perception of society is that the overly yang types are the lions. But
no, it's yin type because they're brute and they're deliberate, planned the offense.
Yeah, that's that premeditated kind of intense.
That's usually high impact. That's on high impact. So obviously, as we got such a suppression of peoples in the Western world now, especially in America, a lot of yin types can't actually express their voice. Yeah, and obviously the result of that is that they do planned offense, like it will become over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the yang type, you know exactly what goes on, and with the yin type, you don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why it's both ends of the spectrum are dangerous.
Yeah. It's coming back to the middle, right? The Tao, the middle way.
That's where we obviously need more and more leaders who have both. Yeah. So if you got a yang leader, they need to understand, I need to do a lot of martial art training in order to control my impulsive behavior pattern, which is regulated by my yang, not because there's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
By nature, like Bill Clinton, by nature, of course, he will have, like all the top politicians have affairs left, right, and center, because it's a yang type.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just say at them, oh, look, there's something wrong with you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't quite work that way. They need to understand it's a yang nature. Whereas the yin type obviously needs to become expressive. So how do they do this? Obviously, this is where we're going to look at what is really the pathology of a yin type.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the yang type got liver-yang axis, the yin type has got liver-yang deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So that means the meals of a yang type, the food has to be moving towards putting spices into the liver. Mm-hmm. So you take herbs like 6 major, or we're looking at astragalus, and we're looking at a lot of herbs that will actually build the yang. So we talked about it in one of the talks about what's the healthy diet. Yeah. So this is where it gets more and more now into the type. Obviously, my new book is coming up very soon. It's all about, I talk about it in detail. So wait till it's out then, because as a yin type, you need a different diet as a yang type.
Yeah.
If you understand who you are.
In traditional Chinese society, and we're not talking about the last 20 years because it's become totally different, but like in ancient times, the many people had an awareness around their constitution and would eat accordingly to balance their constitution. Yeah,
that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. If you're a yang type, you don't have Mongolian beef. There's lots of pepper and chili. But yang types do. And then they have rum and coke. And then obviously, no wonder why things blow up. Yeah. So the yang wants to have lots of mint. You want a Mongolian mint dish.
Yeah.
You know, calming with thymes and a lot of other, and dill. You want to get the yin in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The yang type, the yin type needs more the yang. So the yin type, you want to work lots with peppers and chilies and all kind of stuff like that. Okay. But also balancing it with the meal so it doesn't turn into pathology. Obviously, that's like a whole subject in its own.
Yeah.
But what I can say here is the yin type suffers from liver yang deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're more to the yin side, that means you will have your liver yang needs be cultivated. What's a good way to cultivate liver yang? Obviously, is that's where martial art training is coming into, or rigorous training like kickboxing. Like
Okay.
Like go to the gym and do boxing classes, like screaming, yelling, out.
Hit training, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Like I had a really good. I was working back in the days when I had my health shed in Paddington. I was working with a guy, with one of my friends, Rick Young, and he had a really great. He focused on the yin type pathology of women, and he developed the pattern called "Bring the Bitch Out."
Yeah, fire it up, hey.
So he worked with pads and martial training and punching, and to really, come on, express it. Yeah. So the yin type is too conditioned because the drive is to acknowledge the space. There's no drive to express. So they need to cultivate to actually acknowledge the space and to go for it and express it. Yep. So then they obviously need to go into verbal work, like verbal.
Yep.
The yang type needs to bring the voice down. Bring it down to the bottom. The yin type needs to bring it up.
Yep.
Bring it up like a merry warrior, like bring it up, haka. Yeah.
Haka, get the energy up. Yeah.
They did a great study about 10 years ago about where are the happiest women in the world. And according to that study, the Japanese Kenpo women were regarded as the happiest women.
Sorry, the
Japanese women would do the Kenpo art, which is swordsmanship, martial arts.
Yeah, the sword martial art.
Tradition, it's a very disciplined tradition that the Japanese have been cultivating for 1,000 years. So it goes back to the samurai. But the women, 60% of the students, of the participants, are women.
Okay.
And they followed up on that study, and because a lot of the cultures have suppressed the drive in women, and therefore have created an enforced yin pathology on the female sex.
Yeah.
So the Japanese regulated it very well by putting the Kenpo art. So women realize, hang on, I'm a suppressed yin here. I need my yang up. So they're doing Kenpo training. So Kenpo training is that's samurai training. So it's a sword that is so sharp, it cuts you in half straight away. So it's a very dangerous martial art. But the training is done with bamboo sticks.
Yep.
Bamboo sticks. And they put the helmets on, and the YouTube, it's all on YouTube, how these beautifully, incredibly well-behaved, polite women, like speak very considerate and so nice, then put the helmets on, and then I get into the warrior scream, and that scream is so fierce, it makes most men froze to death.
Freaks them out.
And that scream that comes with it, and then bang, they hit each other, and then obviously then after put the helmet off, back to polite. Yeah. Obviously, this is one thing that the animals understand. Animals in the wild don't suppress their nature. They don't suppress the drive. If you go to a tiger woman, tigress, I think it's called, yeah. Yep. If you go to a female tiger and you go boo, it's going to express you. It's going to be full expression. Yeah. Yep. It's not going into suppression. It will express it. Yeah. So obviously in nature, yin and yang are really well balanced. The animals don't have identity crisis unless they are put into an apartment by human beings. Then it can get nasty.
Yeah, in their environment,
they're not animals anymore. They're not wild anymore. They're sort of like take on the personality of the humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the wild, it's the animal will always express its yin and yang drive. Yes. Yeah. So it will huddle up and cuddle, or it will express. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the yin type, because it's got that liver yang deficiency by nature, and liver yang means you express. Like if you got too much liver yang, you got liver yang rising. Liver yang rising means you're red in the face, you drink rum and coke, and you will start a battle, a brawl. So you get aggressive. So if you smoke marijuana, it activates the liver yin. You don't get aggressive. So like yin types are a bit like stoned all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. I need something to wake them up.
Yeah. If they smoke pot, they will get paranoid. Yes. Yeah. And because there's too much space observation, too much about everyone looking at me rather than acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the pathology is the liver yang is lacking in cultivation. So you need to cultivate. So the diet is one way. The next thing is obviously to do expressive exercise. Yeah. Then the next thing is to start doing, as you all throughout the day, micro changes in your behavior of understanding, being aware. Hang on. By nature, I will always sit back before I say something. I will train myself now to speak first before I think.
Yeah.
So
to be not combating, but to be working with your nature to move towards the Tao, towards the middle.
Yes. Just bring it up for a while. But obviously, because you are yin by nature, if you say, okay, next time I'm going to speak before I think, it still never be like a yang type. It will be considered as normal.
Yeah. And I think that answers, like, we've had a lot of comments and questions around that. It's like, if you're yin, can you be yang? And if you're yin, or if you're one type and you live with someone, can that affect you? And it's all a part of the big picture. Environment, like our behavior, it's all a part of the yin yang picture. But how we balance ourselves, it's really got to do with like how we live on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
You said micro habits. Micro habits is how you balance yourself back to the middle.
Yes, once you're aware of who you are, then you know what to look for, what you need to balance yourself. So a yang type wouldn't start with the Chinese herbal formula that is primarily in yang building. A yang type would start in the morning, have a Chinese herbal formula that is more on building the yin. It's more like a liver qi mover rather than a liver yang, a liver qi, than liver yang rising. If you're yin type, you know exactly you're going to put more spices into your breakfast. A yin type never should eat raw or cold foods because the yin is insufficient in order to digest it. So we have a lot of problems with the yin types doing, if you're yin type and having a diet of salads and raw foods, it will aggravate it. The yang type can have it, but it's still not a good idea because the development of the pathology later is always an indication that things are not right. Yeah. So therefore, the yin type needs to be aware. Okay, I need to spice up my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you see redox impacting with this? Like, because redox is a pretty freaky thing, right? I remember one of the things you said to me in the early days, you still had the health shed at Paddington and you were dealing with a lot of people with pretty severe addiction and pretty serious drugs. Yeah. And you said, you'd never found another product that was cooling by nature and yet detoxing, right? So it was like, at that point, I don't know if you found anything since, but at that point you were like, this stuff is freaky. Is so different because everything else detoxing is heating, but this is cooling. So redox is pretty strange, isn't it? How do you see it helping us balance?
Redox enhances, like everyone needs redox. Everyone. The yang type needs it, the yin type.
It's the base of life.
So the yin type will benefit from taking redox by becoming more expressive. The yang type will benefit from redox by becoming more reflective. So it will enhance, because what it does, it mobilizes the mitochondria and mobilizes liver qi to move by a spleen. So spleen is obviously the center of production for qi and blood. So it's the center of yin and yang. So spleen is neither yin nor yang, it's in the center. It's a center, it's earth element. So it's in the center of up and down, left and right. So it determines if you go yin or yang. So,
Okay.
so that's why we need 3 meals, because meals always bring us back to center. And as we go back to center, we then bring yin and yang back to its starting point.
Okay.
And spleen is the starting point of yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and redox enhances the spleen. Yeah. So redox to me, it looks like every time the world has another problem, a new solution is provided. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those who discovered redox was in line with what we need to do. For me, it's the most, I tell everyone it's the most important product you need to have in your diet. Yeah. It's not to, because you accelerate aging, you become sick and prone, because the invasion we have from all the different influences of yin and yang these days really stop you of going into your center.
Yeah.
Yeah. But redox takes you into your center.
Yeah.
So it always takes you to center. Then, as a yang type, been taken to center, you then, from then, it builds it towards you moving towards reflection. As a yin type, it moves it towards you expressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty. Regardless of who you are, what pathology you are, you always take the same amount. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's amazing, because even the word redox comes from reduction and oxidative. It comes from extremes. Redox is the balancing word of both. So that's, it's awesome to explain it like that, because it really just gets the chi moving. And you're talking about the pathologies. It's when you get stuck in either one, when you're not able to come back to the middle and balance. That's the problem, right?
That's why you always need the redox. I mean, that's how I do with everyone, with all the clients I work with. If I put them on high doses of redox, things always starts moving first, because you go back to center.
Yeah.
And as it then goes back to center, you then can start, okay, then you see the real picture.
Yeah.
If someone is in an extreme situation, you can't see yet what's going on.
Mm.
And if you put now high doses of redox into their life, it just returns to center. Now you can see, okay, the real picture is that there's yin here, not enough yang there. You can see the real picture.
Yeah.
It's an extreme situation, extreme yang or yin. You first of all, you always need to establish center. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
That's
the Tao.
That's the holy rule in Chinese medicine. Return to center. Before we do anything, always return to center. Yeah. Every practice, when we start the morning practice, we always start getting into center first. But what happens these days is people wake up and go straight to the phone, stimulation. They move away from the center.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is where, like, if you're yin type or yang type, all have the same requirement. You need to get into center first, establish center first. Yeah.
My last conversation with you in person, I come, it was a month ago or so. I come to see you, and you said to me about when you live against the Tao. In Chinese philosophy, that's evil.
Yeah.
That was an amazing, for me, that was a huge insight, that I was like, okay, when I'm living in a way that disturbs the balance, disturbs the yin and yang, that is going against life force. That is what is evil. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah, I think that was brilliant.
Because Tao wants to express us. Like, if everyone expresses themselves as in accord with their nature, of who they really are, we got the perfect place.
Yeah, you're going with the forces of the universe.
Because everyone is created by Tao in order to do something. And obviously the yin type needs to establish the space so people can return. The yang types need to establish the expansion so we can grow. Yeah, brilliant. So the two work hand in hand. So that's obviously the perfect harmony.
Yeah. All right. Well, fantastic. Look, for everyone that's listening, if you want to find more information, I've put a bunch of links for Jost's websites in the chat box here. His website is also in the Facebook Live, so you can go back and have a look at that at any time. Some of the other things we've covered, we've done quite a few of these interviews now, so all of those are in the Renew with Redox Facebook group. If you're not a part of that group, please go to whoever invited you to come along today and get invited into that group. It's a private group, but it's got heaps of great information in there. And also some of the links in the Zoom about the Tai Chi courses and the Transcendental Meditation, other things we've talked on, and other interviews that we've done that have been really, really helpful. I've actually done that TM course, loving it. doing your 15-minute exercise in the morning, and you can download that for free. That's been fantastic. Really, I've changed my lifestyle in the last couple of months. Just having these interactions, Jost. I'm really grateful for that, and absolutely loving it. I've always had it really hard to get up early in the morning, and I'm like off even 5 o'clock. I'm friggin' waking up at 5 o'clock now. I cannot believe it. Yeah, like used to be a struggle for 7. So amazing how you can rebalance your life so quickly. Yes. One last question in the Zoom was about what's a high dose of redox. I'd be talking about 120 mils twice a day for anyone that's really out of balance, and even more so according to how serious the condition is and how old the person is as well. Age does come into that. So anything else you would like to mention, Jost, before we call it a day?
Yeah, be aware who you are, and so don't bet yourself about the behavior pattern. Remember, like you can't say tomorrow I won't get thirsty. You can't say tomorrow I won't get horny. You can't say tomorrow I won't get hungry. It's your drive. Just understand how to live with yin and yang, and that requires to, instead of trying to bet yourself over by things you shouldn't do or should have done, just don't bet yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Just focus on building yin and yang. That's all it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Just focus on yin and yang. Obviously, my whole book, this is all about yin and yang. Every 2 hours, exactly how to balance yin and yang. If you build yin and yang all the time, if you balance it, your drive is always in control without you needing to do a mental technique on it. You become spontaneous. And the highest aim is in Chinese medicine is your behavior is spontaneous. It's not deliberate. You don't want to have a deliberate action. We want to be spontaneously good. We want to be spontaneously balanced, not deliberately balanced. And that's what the Tao shows us. So by follow the path of yin and yang, by the chi cycle, we get more and more into this. And then automatically we become more and more naturally good. We become good without knowing that we are good.
You're awesome, Jost. Thank you so much. We've had heaps of comments, 23 comments on Facebook, heaps of comments in the Zoom. Thanking you so much for these calls. People even saying they're organizing their Thursdays around these calls. So people are greatly appreciative of your time. And look, wish all of you listening and the audience and people listening to the replay, thanks for joining us on this journey for us to feel good and do our best. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Jost. You're awesome. We'll catch you next week, same time.
Thank you.
Bye now.